Hello, this is Cara from Cara Tarot with a video I promised you the other day. Um, ranking my Minchiate decks. Now, I have one that I'm waiting for, so I'll just have to show you pictures of that one, and I'll just kind of have to assume where I think it's going to be in my ranking. And of course, rankings change over time. And with use and familiarity, familiarity can breed affection or contempt. Get your nose off of there, please. This is Persephone is having to rearrange things. This is the closest I have to an Etruscan vase, so I thought I would include that in my setup today. Get over here. Off. So I'm going to start off with, at the bottom of my list is probably the most controversial deck that I have, the DaBrigh Minchiate Tarot, artwork by Yulia Orlova. And I have one other DaBrigh deck, the Black Tarot, which is a very limited use deck for me, but it is a deck that I like, all right. Now, I will say 2 days ago, so this is the DaBrigh Minchiate Tarot. Minchiate purists will say this is not a Minchiate, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But I'd say it was 2 days ago, I watched Musings by Masha. I watched her Minchiate, part of her Minchiate series, and in particular, I watched the last one where she showed her decks and ranked her decks. This deck is controversial because it reorders the majors to be like Rider-Waite-Smith. And there are many Minchiate lovers who just bristle at the mention of this deck because they did that. And I can understand that. They did clarify the artwork, but one thing that I noticed in watching, just about an hour ago, I watched Ina at Taproot Tarot's Minchiate response to Masha, showing her decks, is that this artwork seems to be based on the Fiorentine Minchiate, which I hadn't seen before, and that's apparently a larger deck, and I do like large decks. I like large decks, and I cannot lie. But most Minchiates are not, because they're so large in this way. They have close to 100 cards, usually. So the clarity of these images, I like, these historically based images. The titles are very clear for someone like me who's worn glasses since I was 7. That is something good about this deck. The ordering of the majors being in Rider-Waite-Smith style, I feel, others disagree, but I feel that that would help a Rider-Waite-Smith reader get into this system, particularly because it is a pip deck. And it would also help learn TDM pips, because the pips all have these words for the upright and not upright. And that's one of the things that I like to look at in this deck. Because I come from Rider-Waite-Smith, I know that I'm not particularly legitimate in the way that I read pips. I tend to read them more like Rider-Waite-Smith. So this is just a clue to me. It's an additional input in how I read pips. So this, to me, I can see why this would offend people, because this is Father Time in almost all Minchiate decks, and even many historical decks. Not, not the Hermit. There actually is another card that I think could better represent the Hermit in those historical decks. Judgment. the fleeting nature of fame. Ina talked about this a good deal, and I do connect this with, if you have watched my video where I read the article about the Christian key to the tarot, where he talks about how each successive trump is supposed to trump the other, like intuition of the high priestess trumps the enthusiasm of the fool, and it goes on and on. And in that case, the fleetingness of fame is, yes, it's the, and that's why, as Ina said, the world is sometimes before it, because in the world is, your fame would be paramount in the world, but judgment supersedes your fame in the world. And also, fame is fleeting. It's relative for people. I mean, some people are forgotten very quickly, but even incredibly famous people, if you think about, most people now don't know the people who were silent film stars, and they were incredibly famous in their day. Oh, I wanted to say, I almost am embarrassed to do this video because Ina is so well versed in the history. It's like she can show you a card and say, bring out a book and say, this book about the Renaissance ties in this little feature of this book. And she's such a well-versed historian in the history of the cards. and I'm kind of like the cosmetic influencer of the cards. I'm like, oh, the colors are really pretty and they feel good too. And that's about, I think that's about all I bring to the table. And then Masha, of course, has this incredible enthusiasm that I think Ina and I, both being jaded theater women, we don't have that anymore. And I'm like, Masha has this incredible bubbly enthusiasm, and I look at her and I say, yeah, that's why she's married and I'm not. But anyway, so here I am sharing my cards and my paltry knowledge. So just a recognition, the other aspect that I think makes this deck worth having is it's cheap. And so because most Minchiate decks start around $40 and only go up from there, this is half of that. And so it's clear, it gives you some of the concepts of reading Minchiate. It gets you into reading pips, and it's bright and colorful. So I will say I still struggle with some of the virtues, because sometimes this is prudence, and the three additional virtues, I think in some decks it's the moon that is also the hermit. And then some historical decks. Okay, and so this is my bottom of the rung deck. It's inexpensive. The cards are thinner, so they're easier to shuffle, because with this many cards in a deck, it can be hard to shuffle. These are closer to normal tarot size, which most Minchiate decks are not. So it's kind of has both. Now it does have, and I mentioned this before in another video recently, this is legit. I got this from DaBrigh. They have their book, their guidebook, on a QR code. And yes, here we are, tuck box, QR code, and this is the legitimate deck. So these things that we've been taught to look for as not being legitimate, they're shifting. I've seen other regular tarot decks that also, for example, the Dame Darcy Queen Alice. It doesn't have a tuck box, but it has a QR code for the book. So this is becoming more common, and it just kind of muddies the water for those of us who are confused about some of our decks. Next, and I'm not quite sure about some of this order, but next I will go to one of the decks that Ina also showed. I think Masha also had this. The Minchiate Etruria, 1725. This is Il Meneghello, and I am not as fond of this as some of their others because it has a different cardstock. It's a more slippery cardstock. It's a smooth finish. And one of the things I like about the other decks that I have is that the paper is like handmade gift paper that's made from pulp. And so the original was printed during the Kingdom of Etruria between 1801 and 1807, as evidenced by the stamp on the Cancer Triumph, with the inscription Cards of Etruria, and on the back of the papers. So, given that, I don't understand why it says 1725. Masha touched on it, but she didn't clarify it. So that's, and I've read different things about that. It's like, why does it say 1725 when the original was printed in 1801? So maybe somebody can answer that. Or maybe somebody doing their own video can answer that, since we all seem to be tagging on this video. So, of course, Il Meneghello is known for the historical accuracy and the care taken with their decks, which is a wonderful thing. There is no guidebook for this. So here we have the Page of Cups and the Queen of Cups. One of the things I love about Minchiates is the knights are all half human, half beast. But as you can see, this is all rather gray. And this is one reason it pushes it down in my favorites. I think everybody knows. As I said, I like the bright colors. One thing I love about this is that the wands look really like three-dimensional wooden rods and that are placed on top of each other. They look as if you could just pick it up, and I adore that. I would say this kind of Minchiate image is probably what inspired, one of the things that triggered and inspired the artist who made the Tarocchi de Mr. Friborg, and that's in my list, and we'll see that in a bit. But for me, the standout in this deck are the wands. They just look like wooden rods that you could pick up. One of the things about Minchiate decks when you're reading them is you can look at the faces and see how these faces are interacting or not. I believe that all of these images relate to old fables, some of which I don't know, and many of which I don't know, and some of them have maybe perhaps been lost to the obscurity of time. They're zodiac cards, and then the four suits. The star is one of the wise men, and can sometimes also be read as hope. And so sometimes, especially in non-Minchiate decks that still retain this imagery for the star, that I think it's meant to double as hope. So this is my, I didn't even count how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have currently 7 decks in the house. And I have one on the way, which I will talk about at some point. Next is a very non-traditional one, and I'm not from, this only arrived a day or two ago. This is, it's called a Marseille deck, but it is a Minchiate deck. And it was made by 2018. I really only got this because it's a Minchiate deck. I don't know how well I'll be able to read with it. Because, you know, some people may think of me as a dinosaur, but I don't identify as a dinosaur. And, and so I don't know how well I'll be able to read these because I do rely on facial expression and other things. So I think I'll just go through these. So that's colère. Again, these are in French, so if you don't speak French, it might be harder for you. Melancholy. So anger, melancholy. These would be additional cards here. Phlegmatisme. What would it be? Ennui, kind of? Or being resigned. Oh, well, sanguinité would be being resigned. I'll have to look that word up. So here we have autumn, summer, spring, with the dinosaur coming out of the egg. Oh, and that must be, that's winter. Okay. Hiver. Yeah, there it is. Hiver. Charity, hope, not sure what that one is. The cycle of Saturn. Oh, I think we're getting into the planets. Venus, Jupiter, Mercury. So this deck, instead of having the astrological signs, has the planets. Mars. And now we have the king of Fougère. And of course, I don't know what Fougère is. Looks like wands, okay. Or ferns, that must be ferns because they have the spores on them, okay. So I'm just really going through this card by card for the first time with you now. So you're discovering this. As I see, they have the spores on them of the fern fronds. Fossils, so bones. So maybe the ferns is earth, we'll see. Bones, I would think, would be wands. It does make me laugh, and you know, this is why I say I'm like the cosmetics influencer of this troupe, because I'm like, oh look, it makes me laugh. It's colorful. I like it. I can be shallow. And so here, this look, pentacles, Damonite snails. And maybe I can read this better than I thought I could. Now, you'll have to tell me, if you're not a French speaker, would this just be far and away out of your league? Although, let me pause for a moment and let's look at the book. The book is in English. So ferns are swords. Fougere, ferns are swords. Fossils, bones, are wands or batons, as I thought. Crinoids are, oh, because they're snails, they're the elements of water, so they are the cups, even though they look like pentacles to me. Are they? Oh, no, these are the ammonite, and these are pentacles. Okay, so pentacles, and what are they? I missed that while I was looking it up. Well, they are a type of snail. Oh, because here they are. The snails are coming out of their shells there. Or they're some kind of shell-dwelling creature. But clearly, this tells you, that they are the pentacles. Oh, and then Roi de Crinois, so kind of like dolphins. And they are water, obviously. And this isn't the valet, it's the varlet, which is more of a impish, puckish character than a valet would be. And that's our water suit. I think I could read this. I haven't. See, some things I just get because I want to have, I don't really have things that I don't read, but some things I don't know for sure if I'll be able to read them, but I just think they're so unique and such an interesting addition that I'll get them, and then I'll figure out later. Okay, so now we are getting to, oh, we have a happy squirrel. And isn't that a weird looking squirrel? But it's important to have a happy squirrel. And so now I'm going to go through these in the usual order so we can see, because Minchiate order can be different enough with the majors without trying to go through them backwards. The Fool. Oh, and I guess they're assigning different kinds of dinosaurs to the majors. So the Magician, let's see how clear these are. The High Priestess with her book and her crown. The Empress, or this would be the Western. Let me see what they do with these, whether they're maintaining the different popes. So this is the Empress, the Triceratops, the Emperor, the Pope, or the Hierophant. So they are modernizing this. So this would be another reason people would not think that this is a legitimate Minchiate. But I mean, it's dinosaurs, so you know it's not legitimate. The Lovers, the Chariot. So do we have straight? No, the Justice. So this is more tarot, and it says Les Dinosaurs de Marsailles. So it is Marseille based. The Hermit. And he has those Father Time elements, but also the Hermit lamp. Evolution, that's wonderful to have for the Wheel of Fortune. The Survival of the Fittest for strength. The Hanged Man. The Tyrannosaurus is death. Temperance, this Spinosaurus. Boy, I don't know dinosaurs this well. See, I'm not even a dinosaur person. What? I got this purely for laughs. That's how shallow I am. Okay. The Devil. The Tower. The Volcano. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Meteorites for the Star. The Moon. Extinction. Ooh. That's a dark moon for extinction. The Sun. Natural Selection. Oh, yoy. Paleontologist for Judgment. I think that's the only person in the deck. The Paleontologist. And the World. The Diplodocus, dancing with gravity with surprising grace, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. So there you have it. I thought this one was worth going through. Not only have I not gone through it, but worth going through in terms of determining how much they were following the traditional Minchiate. So this is almost like a Tarot de Marsailles deck with an expansion deck, all on this delightful theme. It's not a new deck, 2018, but I don't know that anybody has included this in a Minchiate video yet. So here I am going to put the, because I don't have it yet, and this is smack in the middle, is the Minchiate de Poilly. I'll put some pictures here from their website. As I mentioned in another video, Happening by Chance is the one who showed this, and I did see it on one other website, a guy who does historical decks, and he kind of told me where to look, but when I looked at it on the website, it looked much less vibrant. And then when she showed hers, Happening by Chance, showed hers, it looked very vibrant again, and she also had the same link. I will note, if you go to their website, it doesn't show up. You have to search for it by name, and then it comes up, and it is still available. So, but it isn't on their, it doesn't come up on just if you're just going through what the decks on their site, it doesn't come up. So I don't know if that means that they're phasing it out. The Poilly, I particularly like the colors of that. It's red and green, so I also thought it could be a good Christmassy deck for me, because I don't have a Christmas deck, and I've been kind of casting around as what would be a good Christmas deck for me. I have things that I use around Christmas, but nothing that is specifically Christmas. And red and green are so prominent in that, and I also like the illustration. So I'm waiting for that one to arrive. And now I have another illegitimate deck. This is also one that Ina has, the Tarocchi of Mr. Friborg. Now, he had two versions of these. A more clear one that had brighter pinks and purples, and then one that's more antiqued, and that's the one that Ina showed. And I have what he called the classic. And I just want to say, when he came out with his sirens, he put these on half price, and this was the only way I could have afforded this deck, an expansion pack. It is out of order. So right away here, this is what I was talking about, since we have death on top. All of his faces are skulls, and this, of course, is incredibly reminiscent of that Minchiate image that we saw. And so he has many different references. Now, again, Let me just look through the book for this. This book is tiny print. And he said this is a love letter to old school decks. He reads by high and low polarity. His majors are Tarocchi de Marsailles based. With justice at 8 and strength at 11. He does not have the 4, the 4 emperors that most Minchiate decks have, or the east and west. He doesn't have those. This I got because of the color palette and also as a Halloween deck, and the pips are glorious. Just everything about this is fine art. I mean, if you ever are questioning, I saw another video where somebody said, "Are tarot decks art?" This is fine art. Oh, and I think her video was discussing whether you can insure your tarot decks. And there was an interesting discussion on the bottom where they said that while individual tarot decks would not be insurable because of their prominence in the market, they're not like an artwork that's just one picture or one painting. But, and here we have the star. So even though he's putting this as in a Tarocchi de Marsailles format, he's using that Minchiate image of the star. They were saying that one of the comments said, collections can be insured just by virtue of being a collection. So that is, as some of us start amassing more than we ever thought we would have, that's worth knowing. Just look at these glorious, glorious illustrations of the pips. Fire. Prudence. Hope. Does anybody know why the crown is flying in front of hope? I mean, prudence, looking in the mirror and not believing what you see in the mirror, that I can get. I don't understand why the crown is flying. The half man, half human, and Skeletor knights. Charity, the flame of charity. Now here he has the Grand Duke as one of the expansion cards. I have my expansion cards mixed in because I read this like a Minchiate deck. So you can see these very traditional TDM clubs. The Emperor of the Orient, again, one of the expansion decks. So he does not have them included in the majors of the main deck. The majors of the main deck are like a TDM. So you could just get the main deck, although I don't know if they're available anymore. You could just get the main deck and as a TDM and read it as a Tarot de Marseille if you're not interested in these additional cards of the Minchiate. Father Time. But notice that's not the Hermit version of Father Time. Faith. Air. But the colors are just lush. For a while I was looking at this and see, if you weren't sure, aqua. He retains the extraneous imagery, the little boar in Sagittarius, the lion. It's just, this is an exquisitely beautiful deck. And here we much more clear fox in balance. The moon has a tower and a dog. just an exquisite deck, and I love reading with this deck. It's very clear to me when I read with this deck. It's a favorite. Oh, and by the way, I have it in a. I'm not a bag gal in general. I have it in a bag because the boxes are tight. The first time I tried to get it out, I was being so careful, and I still ripped a corner of the box lid, and so I just said, enough with the boxes. So this is one of the few that I keep in a bag. The Tarocchi of Mr. Friborg. And this is, again, the classic version. And it's, again, for me, I like the concept of the antique version, but because of both the color values that I liked and the clarity of not having that antiquing, because I've worn glasses so much of my life, I wanted the clarity. Now, my next deck, I showed in my end of the month wrap up, and I didn't realize I got this from the person that Ina mentions in her Minchiate video on eBay. I think he's pushed the price up a tiny bit. I think it's $36. He was a delight to work with. He was, I think she said his name is Hugo. This is, I think, a currently produced Minchiate Etruria deck. This also says 1725. Flimsy box. And it is the shipping, I think, cost as much as the deck. This is a traditional Minchiate, and if you know me, and something I forgot to say, how much I adore the color orange. I love the color orange. You'll see why this is... There's so many wonderful things about this deck. First of all, the cardstock is flimsy. I think it's even thinner than regular playing card weight. But what that means is, with a deck that has this many cards, it means it's a joy to shuffle and bridge. And it's a smooth matte finish, or semi-gloss. Semi-gloss. And so it just makes it really easy to handle. It has, because with Minchiate decks, your numbering is different from the traditional Tarocchi de Marsailles, Thoth, or Rider-Waite-Smith numbers. You have these little words, even though they're in Italian. You have the words to help you know what the card is. Now, the pages, knights, queens, and kings have numbers. They go on up from 10. So in 11, you know this is a page of cups. The pages are women in this deck. Orange is the predominant color, but oranges and greens. Here again, we have these wonderful wands that are so clear that just look like wooden rods, dowel rods that you could grab. So that's temperance there, even though the water is orange, surprisingly. Lovely colors in this deck. The colors are more vivid and bright, so for me, I like that too. That helps with the visual clarity for me. So I guess I can justify my love of color a little bit because color brings up the visual clarity. So here, you have a monkey looking in the mirror, and I agree with Ina, that's about the human condition of vanity. Here with the Four of Cups, but that introspection. This appears to be a bull with a book. So these images are very traditional, and they are common to other decks. And I would say these images are basically the same images as the Il Meneghello, but more colorful and on a cardstock that I like better. I'm sorry, I just, when I get Il Meneghello, I usually am looking for that, the tactile strength of that handmade paper. So Aquarius, this was one that confused me in a couple decks until I understood that that is the Aquarius. Magician. So it's these colors that just bring this to the top for me. And again, this was, now Ida knew a lot more about this seller. She said he goes back and forth between Argentina and Spain, I think she said. So that, but he was a joy to deal with. We actually had conversations back and forth before I even clicked buy on this. So this is becoming, it's near the top. Right now, this is my second favorite deck, and I like it a lot. I enjoy reading with it. I find clarity in reading with it. But I guess that's the other thing with Il Meneghello, because it's not as clear for me in multiple ways, for whatever reason. And of course, my favorite, Amparo Aguirre's Tarocchi Minchiate di Bomarzo. Those of you who follow me know I did a month-long focus on this deck way back, like 4 months ago. Here again, she has, oh, it's not on the box. She has a QR code for her booklet. I'm not going to show it. And she has it available in English, and if you turn it over, it's available in Spanish. And yes, kudos to Masha for having Amparo appear in her video. But Amparo also has a layout of how you play the game. She's highly invested in how the game is played. So the first half of her online book is about playing the game itself. It has this beautiful copper, some would call it rose gold, I call it copper gilding. The most noble of games. Beautiful backs that are reminiscent of, to me, of the Visconti Sforza. You'll see they are a smaller size. This is typical Minchiate size. Beautiful edging. This is a cane edged. And the color, oh, just glorious, glorious color. Here we still have the wise man with the star. These are her modern takes on the traditional images. So we still have the traditional image just done in her new style and these brilliant, brilliant colors. I just, I love it. And it's it is a linen cardstock, but it's a very smooth linen, so they slide beautifully. That is the water. The element, of the 4 elements, that's water. Like the porcupine under the scales of justice. Father Time here is Father Time. With a lot of force, these half human, half beast. And one of the things a touch that she has in her cups is that almost all of the cups have growth coming out of them, which I think is a lovely touch. And then she'll have these additional things on the swords, flowers within the swords, other things that to help you read with your inspiration and intuition as well. But it's the color, the color. The color. Now, this is one I had trouble with. I was thinking that that was a mirror. Let me see if I can find the other one when we come across the other one. These are these virtues. I really learned the virtues, the additional virtues, by working with this deck because she had them in her booklet. Oh, and Masha's the one who pointed out any images of the town are images of Bomarzo. Amparo said Bomarzo is her hometown, or her family's town, where she's from. So that's hope, faith with the burning heart. So I guess that makes her prudence. I thought there was one other one that I was confusing her with. See, we have a sprout coming out of the cup of the Queen of Cups. Masha is the one who pointed out that the background colors of the pips are strongest in the aces and the background colors fade out through the pips. Of course, I'm not finding it now. And there's Aquarius. I'll do a quick little shuffle through and see. I thought there wasn't one more of those that I was confusing. Maybe not. The virtues are why I am so interested in Minchiate decks, frankly. As a Christian tarot reader, having the virtues present in the deck is just as important to me as having death in the deck. For me, it just helps solidify the full range of what is present in life. We certainly live in a culture where the tendency is to believe that evil and power is stronger than the virtues. Here she is. Okay. So you can see right there, that's why this is prudence, and this is a lamp that she's holding up. So that's, here we have, watch me not know what it is now. Hope, faith, prudence, no, hope, charity, prudence, and faith. This is the light of faith. Yeah, so the flame of charity, of the generous heart. So as you say, I'm still learning them. I have to see them together sometimes before I figure them out. And they are present in most other traditional Minchiate decks. And as I mentioned to Ina, I think in some of the Tarot de Marseilles decks, they use that wise man on the star, and he is considered to be an alternative hope card, that the star is an alternative hope card in some decks. And so those are my Minchiate decks. There are others that I've heard wonderful things about that Brian Williams book, but I'm not, you can see I'm not a traditionalist. I don't like only traditional decks. I mean, certainly you've seen that in action, that I'm not a traditionalist. Although I would argue this is traditional. So I'll say not a traditionalist. Those are my non-traditionals. And yet, I don't know why. The Brian Williams deck, I've heard wonderful things about the book, but I just really don't want the deck. And now that I've seen from Ina that there are other books that I can get, I wouldn't. And I don't feel the need, like I'm not enough of a collector to want to have every, possible Minchiate deck that's out there, because I do want to at least kid myself that I will actually be working with the decks that I have. Whether or not that actually pans out that way. And this is one, frankly, I don't even know if I'm going to keep it. Because I just don't, I've only worked with it a little bit. So one of the reasons I worked with this month was to just see what kind of a connection I had with it. And I don't feel it yet. And I think it's the grayscale. I adore the fact that it's the historic illustrations, but then here we have the historic illustrations in brighter colors, and that's, and absolutely, is this as good a quality as this? No, definitely not. It was also only half the price. So if it's more usable, I love what Amparo is doing with resurrecting and clarifying another historic deck, but I don't particularly feel called to that. I do like the deck that Ina showed that's large, because it's large, which means I might work with it more. This may be it for my Minchiate decks with the Poilly that's coming in. We'll see. Tomorrow is another day. So I hope you enjoyed looking at my Minchiate decks, and I hope this wasn't too long. And thank you.